Hello and welcome. If you are a busy lady and you've been thinking about working towards a health and wellness journey, and perhaps you're not feeling energized and your best self at the moment, but you'd like to make some amazing changes, this will be a really insightful session for you today. I'm joined by our amazing client, Martha, who has started her transformational journey already. And this lady is a super busy lady that has progressed and made some amazing changes. So I really wanted to welcome Martha onto the platform today to find out a little bit more about her unique journey, also her opinion around the importance of well-being, and to really share some inspiration with you and some guidance of how you can start your journey. So Martha, so lovely to have you here. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Emily. Real pleasure
Absolute
to be here
honour.
today.
Yeah, absolutely. And your beautiful green blouse, if you're here, see on video,
Oh,
see Martha's lovely blouse. So, Martha, tell me, okay, let's go back to prior to us connecting. What was life like for you? Where were you at in regards to your health and wellness journey?
yeah, so prior to us connecting, my journey was a bit of a roller coaster. I knew about healthy eating, had tried different sort of diets and tried different avenues to lose weight, but I just didn't have anything that would stick and wasn't permanent. So I can go back to kind of what led me to this position here.
Mm.
But I guess my condition was, I had this emotional connection to food, and that was really strong. And so I guess the issue with that was any time I had a long stressful day or long stressful week, I reward myself with food. Anytime I was happy, I would eat food. And we're not talking about the healthy options, we're very much talking about the indulgent options. So that's kind of where I was. There was a cycle that wasn't a virtuous cycle. It's a pretty vicious cycle, because you do that and then you feel unhappy about it, and maybe some people can relate to that. But that kind of was where I was at the point before joining FitQueen.
And it's absolutely exhausting, to be so consumed with those thoughts. And I just wanted to touch on, Martha, what life was like with you in regards to your time. Tell us a bit about your work and what you were doing at that point.
Absolutely. So I guess we'd just come out of the lockdown, well, maybe a few months after the lockdown, the final lockdown. So I had been on sort of a roller coaster of the first lockdown in the UK because of the COVID-19 pandemic, really healthy, doing lots of exercises. But then by the time of the third one, I was just like, when will this end? And I was
Mm.
comforting myself with food. But then on top of that, I work a busy job, I work long hours. And then I was also doing a part-time master's. So it was a full-time job and a part-time master's. So I was definitely squeezing every inch of time out of my calendar. So I was definitely very busy. And sometimes I would either forget to eat and then have to go for something that was quick and typically unhealthy and really sort of, instant boost calories because of low blood sugar, etc. Or I was, eating but just not choosing the right options, and I didn't really know sort of the quantum to eat and stuff like that, which
Mm.
now it feels like a distant memory.
Yeah.
But at the time, I just didn't know what to do. I still knew about healthy eating. I'd had a nutritionist in the past. So it wasn't like I hadn't tried, but just nothing seemed to stick. So yeah, I was a very busy schedule. But then also, the funny thing for me was I was aware of what I should be doing, but I still wasn't doing it because of the link between emotional eating and my food. So I found it quite an interesting dynamic I had, and I needed to make a permanent break from that, which is why I was really excited to join FitQueen.
Yeah, that's an amazing answer. And I think just to touch on that is, you know, full-time job, part-time masters, you're excelling and you're an expert in, what your journey and your career path. So actually there's not a huge amount of time, space, resources to be able to actually think about what's going to be the best process when it comes to how am I going to get myself from being stuck with emotional eating and in pain to that freedom piece. And we pay to MOT our cars, so actually it's a great plan to invest in having that right support and care and attention, absolutely, because it can just fast track you, can't it, to getting to a place of freedom.
No, absolutely. And I really, what resonated with me about Fit Queen in particular was I listened to you on a podcast, Emily, and you were talking about your journey.
Mm,
And for me, it was I guess the sort of dramatic weight loss and then some of the health consequences from that, which really resonated with me because although I haven't had the same journey, I have actually lost a lot of weight in the past and then put it back on. And so I really knew about that kind of cycle. I wanted to break that for good. And I guess you spoke about on that podcast about how you want women, is a solution for women designed by women, which really resonates with me, because I really sense that when as I'm going through the program. It's really as if like it's someone who's in my head has been is designing something for me,
mm,
but also it was the permanency of the solution. So it's not sort of count calories, go on the scales, lose all the weight, and then in a few months' time, it's like, oh, I've put on weight. It's breaking that cycle for good, and also educating the next generation on healthy eating. So it's a really positive way of
mm.
thinking about healthy eating, well-being, etc. It's a really holistic program, so that really spoke to me as well.
Yeah, and I love that you touched on that because I actually was reading an article on LinkedIn this morning of there was a study that was performed in Australia with young females, and they took in sort of some guidance and support around nutrition and exercise, but it didn't actually have any positive effect on the young girls and how they viewed their body image.
Okay.
Um, but I would say that one of the biggest pieces that will have a huge effect, very opinion based, but obviously conditioning and being able to teach the next generation, ourselves. I hope that if I have a daughter one day, that's definitely something that I want to be able to teach her. And we are a reflection sometimes of obviously the conditioning we've had when we're younger. So, being able to inspire younger women to enable them to not have to go through the losing and gaining, diet culture that isn't regulated, and is all over social media. So, yeah, I love that we absolutely align with that. So, tell me, what have you learned so far? I mean, you've shared quite a lot of amazing pieces, but what has been your big sort of changeable factors since you've been with us?
I think there are a few, but to pick out the top three, I would say
Mm,
would be, and these are practical things and they resonate with me, but I think they are helpful for others. So one is volume. So sometimes when you're really hungry, you consume with your eyes and you're just like, oh, I need everything. And so you
mm,
have a mass of food. Actually, and maybe you love food and you want to try everything.
mm,
Actually, I guess it's about having a smaller portion, maybe obvious, but you can still enjoy everything, which is something I love about the program. But you just have to be mindful of how much you're consuming. So volume is really important. I would say the next thing, which has really changed changed things for me, is exercise. So obviously, I knew I had to exercise. It's not new. It's great for your well-being, and there's so many health benefits to exercising. Clearly, but I was going on holiday somewhere, and I spoke to my coach about this, and it's really interesting having a coach who you can talk to regularly, and you have a weekly check-in, and then you
mm,
can speak to throughout the week as well. And I said, look,
mm,
the problem is I'm going somewhere where that you can't really walk on the pavement. So what do I do? It's really hot, and there's not really pavements. So again, I was told, okay, have you thought about skipping? Something as simple as that to get my heart rate up, get my steps in. And that was it's a great solution. I can take a skip very easily in my hold luggage, and it's already been transformative whilst I'm here, so I'm able to maintain my goals, whilst still being able to enjoy smaller volume,
mm,
um,
mm,
and really sort of make the most of my holiday. And then the next thing I was taught, which I think that's probably the third thing, which has been transformative, is to drip feed. So I was someone, as I mentioned, I would either forget to eat, or I would and then eat, something quite big and bad for me, I suppose. And bad, I mean, in terms of it wasn't, a great choice. I knew I wouldn't feel great afterwards, but I just wanted it at the time.
mm,
Or I'd reward myself with food. So one thing that my coach, who's amazing, was telling me was drip feed. And that's a really simple solution, but actually it's good to snack during the day.
mm,
And the best way to sort of maintain my blood sugar levels, and means that now I don't sort of binge at the next meal is to drip feed, to have the snacks. And my coach is amazing at helping me to know which snacks I should be eating and the quantum. So it's just very helpful. So I say those were like 3 practical things that have really helped. But overall, it's just more of an awareness, because now when I'm eating, I'm not just consuming, I'm really thinking, and I guess a bit more mindful of what I'm eating, and more grateful for the good in my life, because we have a check-in form every week and we talk about what we're grateful for. It acts as a form of affirmation, self-affirmation, but also reflection. But I also I think about, okay, do I need this food? And actually, it's a bit weird, but I'm thinking, I'm grateful for this food, and actually there are resources that have gone into this food, so I'm not over consuming, thinking about the environment as well. I know it's quite a lot to say, but I'm thinking more mindfully about what I'm eating. So what I mean by that, it's a holistic journey, and I've really been transformed, and I'm very much on the journey. So definitely not at the end. I suppose I'll probably always be on a journey at some point, because there's always that higher level you can reach. But I have just definitely enjoyed being given practical guidance throughout, which shifts as I move through different seasons in my life, and is very practical, very supportive. And to be honest, if I were to design such a great program, it would be exactly how I'd hope to design it. So for me, it really resonates. Yeah,
that is such a lovely thing to hear over here. I absolutely love that. That is amazing. Absolutely. And those are 3 really important key components, absolutely, to creating some great change. And I think what I loved about Jamie pivoting and getting you to skipping when you're away, the reason we do that is because we want you to form this new identity and not tap out because you're going to a different country. Not get off the plane and be like, I don't have to be connected to my health and wellness goals anymore. But actually, you get off that plane and we've still got that momentum going, and we're still looking after your health and wellness. And it is sometimes just, I always say, as a coaching team, there's never a problem. We'll always find a solution, always. So yeah, I absolutely love that. That is so key. Now, is there anything that you would share, any piece of advice, if someone's listening to this and they really do want to start their journey, but perhaps there's some fear about, will I have time, or will it work, or is it worth it? Is there anything that you would share to that person?
Yeah, so I'd say in terms of time, it's really interesting, because actually my coach Jamie, she finds a time that's suitable for me as well. So, it might be 15 minutes during a lunch hour we are check in, or at the end of the day. So you can always carve out time. And I think it's important to prioritize yourself. Often especially as women, we prioritize others. We're kind of implicitly taught as we grow up to serve others rather than ourselves. So we serve ourselves last. Whereas this time, I'm putting myself first, but then I'm also helping others by putting myself first, because as we've spoken about, you're helping the next generation, hopefully. If you choose to have children, or you're an aunt, or an uncle, maybe. Oh well, maybe more an aunt, but you're able to literally give back to the next generation in a really sort of meaningful way. So I would say, eke out time for yourself, and it's not that much time. It's also nice to have someone who supports you on your journey, because often if you do a weight loss program, you'll get help maybe every so often, you'll get sort of the generic exercises, but it's not catered to you. Whereas with this program, not only do we get recipes, if we so wish, which are catered to our personal goals, we're also given exercises that will work, and we can kind of, it's very flexible. It's very, and what I mean by flexibility is, it's tailored to us. So if something's not working, you can speak to your coach, and we amend it together. So it's a very consultative program, and it's something which, yes, it's putting myself first, and it's helping me in a way which it's basically, what I'm trying to say, Emily, is it's breaking a cycle. So it's helping me to break the cycle of boom and bust diet, and then results, and then back to where I was before, and then diet result. So I'm learning how to live in a way that I've always dreamt of in my mind's eye of living, but have never actually been able to live. So I think what I'm trying to say overall is actually a transformational program, which sounds quite grand, but as you go through it, you'll see the benefits to yourself, and it inspires you. And it's nice for
Mm.
me to have a check-in once a week that inspires me after maybe a long day, and helps keep me on track if I've been, if I've gone off the rails a little bit. Someone to, like, it's okay, it happens, this is how we'll deal with it next time. There's no sort of chastisement of, oh, you've done so bad, this
Mm.
was bad food. And so for me, it's a really helpful process, and it's inspired me to do better and want to be better. So what more can you ask for, really?
What a beautiful answer. And also, I so love to hear this, because connection is one of the most powerful tools if you want to influence change. And I think, you know, we don't necessarily connect with like an automated ebook or an app that's got a bot on the end of it, especially when
Mhm.
you're utilizing it to change your body and go through something that is so transformative. So for us, it's trying to keep hold in Fit Queen, of that human to human connection, because
Yeah.
that is how we create amazing change. And that's something we absolutely love to be able to deliver inside what we do. And be able to work with everybody on such an intricate one-to-one personalized level is so powerful when it comes to making great changes. So it's amazing to hear of that connection that you do have with Jamie. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I guess the big piece here is, if you want to break a cycle, you can totally do it, because Martha's just shown us that it's totally possible. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Martha. And if you're listening to this and there's anything that we can, of course, help you with, please do feel free to reach out. And we'll catch
Thank
you
you.
soon.
Thank you so much, Emily. Thank you.